I was on the other side. I was on the side of this is what medical community is saying. This is what we were studying in medical school, and this is what I should go by, right? When I started seeing first parent who told me that no, there are a lot of side effects, there are a lot, I'm like, okay, where do I go? So I just got an insert. You can just get an insert and check the insert. Side effects are all there.
They were telling my mom that it's gonna, prevent her from getting ovarian cancer. And they had almost convinced my mom. She's such a sharp, intelligent woman. She's like, no, 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 we're not going to put this in my daughter's body.
Every year using GMO on the fields, it mingles with the gene in there. So it's not the same gene anymore.
They did studies that coffee, the more coffee you consume, the less you are prone to getting Alzheimer's disease.
You can bind heavy metals from the rest of the body, but from brain, it's very hard to bind it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today's episode is something that I've been really wanting to portray. And I really wanted to invite someone who shares really good insight, information, has a lot of data and research to back up her statements, not just opinions, of course. I wanted to bring this guest because she is somebody very powerful in the community. She's someone who has worked with Dr. Fauci as a first aid medical doctor. She is a medical doctor herself, but she's worked internationally with humans and associations trying to recreate a better and healthier living. I'm talking about Dr. Yunona Hagopjanian. I want to read to you all her credibility and her medical studies and her information from the script that I wrote because it's so long. And I think that it's important that I portray this so that you know that when you're listening to the podcast, you're not just listening to somebody who has opinions, but you're listening to somebody who has brought in data, research, and facts. Dr. Hagopjanian graduated from Yerevan State Medical University in Armenia in 1990 with a medical doctorate degree. Since then, she has completed courses and training as a natural health professional, nutritional wellness consultant, and certified clinical thermographer. She is the owner and founder of Global Solutions Foundation. She is wonderful and a wealth of knowledge. This episode particularly was all about vaccinations. We had a doctor on who was very pro-vaccine. This doctor, I wouldn't clarify and I wouldn't state her as anti, but she did bring in a lot of research about vaccine damages for the other side, which I think a lot of parents have been really waiting to hear about. So this episode, you're going to hear a lot about the ingredients. You're going to hear a lot about the vaccine damages. You're going to hear about websites that hold vaccine damages and so on and so forth. So very informative. But I do want to disclose that this episode is not an opinion. It's not advice if parents should or should not get vaccinations. It's purely knowledge for your knowledge so that you can decide whether vaccinations are right for your child or not. Enjoy this episode, and I hope you take a lot from this with Dr. Yunona Hagopjanian. Hello.
Hi.
Dr. Help me with
Yunona.
Yunona. I always try to pronounce it. How do you spell it? It's Ynonh.
Yunona.
Yunona. Do you want me to call you Dr. Hagopjanian or Dr. Yunona? What's more
Whatever you
comfortable
want.
for you?
Doesn't matter. Yunona is better.
Okay. So it's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
I have been anxiously waiting for this conversation with you because I think this is something that's dear for a lot of people in our communities. And I've had podcasts where I've dealt with doctors who are very pro. And I also wanted to speak to a doctor who also is educated in the other side, which is maybe certain damages that have been caused, data, research. I think it's important to have both sides of the stories to present so that people have a better understanding of what's really going on and not just taking one side. And it's better for me too. I get to learn from you today.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Yeah,
accepting
thank you
my
for
invitation.
inviting me. It's
Absolutely.
an
So,
honor to be here too.
yes,
Yeah.
before we get
Before we
started,
start, I
yes,
would want to do my disclosure, because
yes.
I was educated in Armenia as a doctor of epidemiology. So I was brainwashed double on all the issues, infectious diseases and vaccines and all of that, 2 times more than any other doctor. And I have medical degree, of course, but I'm not licensed in United States. I'm not planning to be licensed here. I don't want to do that. And because I'm working all over the world, there is no point for me to do that. And since I'm not licensed in United States, I can't give advice on anything, but I can educate people. So this is what we're going to do today.
Yes. So tell me, what is it exactly that you want to educate people on? What is it that we're lacking in today's
What we're
society?
lacking,
Yes.
we're used to looking at everything that is presented to us. We became lazy in checking information. We became lazy. You provide link to someone and they just look at the headline of the link. They don't even go inside of that link to read the whole information in there. I'm not even saying to go and look at the other side, which happened with me for a long time. In medical school I was educated that vaccines are good, and let's go to the history of they're good. The theory behind it is actually the principle behind it is very good principle. The principle was, if the cow is getting some infectious disease, having a little bit of that of those antigens, injected into a human would help to cause the reaction in milder form than it would cause the real disease. And having that reaction would train the body to have the immunity, to have better immunity. So the principle was that, and
That's
it
where
was
it
called,
originated from.
that's how it originated. It
Correct.
was called inoculation, immunization. It wasn't called vaccine at that
At the
time,
time.
and they were very good. They were very good help too, because in medieval times, most of the children were dying from infectious diseases. Of course, there is a point of municipality in there. What the municipality, we know how the water, people were lacking water. They didn't have, it wouldn't come through the pipes. It wasn't cleaned, because I have statistic on that, how after World War II, the municipal water, they started treating it with chlorine, and how the mortality from infectious diseases went down.
Oh my.
So that it was going parallel to the I didn't bring that. That was actually what opened my eyes. I thought, if municipal water, treated with chlorine, would make mortality rate going down like that, and it was exactly the same line going down with the mortality, from infectious diseases, then it means it affected it. Now they're saying correlation is not causation, meaning that when we correlate like that, that doesn't mean it's a cause of that. Yeah, but that's one of
Reasons and
the reasons
causes.
that would affect,
Of
right?
course.
So
Of
it's not
course.
only the chlorine in water, of course. After war, during war, we know there was a lot of typhus going on because of the lice, because people didn't have enough soap, to shower and all of that. All of these issues are reasons for they didn't have enough good nutrition, they didn't have good food, to provide for the body. And body, of course, wouldn't be
Of
able
course.
to fight infectious diseases. Why we have malaria so prominent, in African countries? Because they don't have good nutrition.
Nutrition is
It's
lacking.
not
Yeah,
only how
absolutely.
the immunity is formed. Of course, the immunity is formed through good nutrition, first of all, clean water, hygiene. All of these are factors that would be affecting that. It's not only the virus that would come into the body. Actually, the viruses could be, you know, it's a training of the body against any foreign body that would be coming into the body later on. There was something that I paid attention to. they used to do it. I'm not sure if they're doing now. I didn't follow it for a long time. So there was a clinic in Florida where people were actually on the waiting list because anyone who had leukemia and knew about that clinic, they would go get I think it was smallpox inoculation to get rid of leukemia. Now, I'm not saying that it would treat leukemia, but there was a waiting list because people knew that how much it helps. Why? Because high temperatures like that, high fever that is caused by well, all these childhood diseases, it helps with getting rid of cancer tumors. Why? How? We don't know yet, but very high fever. There was Dr. Hold on, it was Huxley, Dr. Huxley in 1950s. He noticed that with his patients that were coming to his clinic, the ones that had high fever diseases would get rid of cancer. No, now he had different cancers, and there is not a lot of research on it. But he noticed something, so he started researching that. And on some patients, he started inoculating them with, which is the highest fever, causing very fast, is malaria, because it's malaria happens very fast, and from the point he would check them to see if they got rid of cancer to the point where they were dying from malaria. It was a very short time, so it was very hard to catch it. He lost few patients, and he got shut down, but no one continued that research, And recently, there are clinics actually in Europe. It's very well known. It's called hyperthermia. Hyperthermia is actually FDA approved treatment, but not in its original way.
In this country?
In this country, in United States, if you go to the FDA website, they say hyperthermia and they talk about it. But the way it was approved to be used in United States, not to have a sauna, which they have in a lot of German clinics in Mexico. We use that sauna. They put people into the sun and having very high temperature. I'm talking about, 102 temperature, which is, it's not good to use. I'm not telling anyone to do that at home, to try it at home. But, it needs to be under supervision of the doctor, of the clinic, because temperatures like that could cause heart attack, all of these
Seizures
issues. So that's why we need to be very careful about, natural treatments are good, but don't forget that it's a science. It's a whole science. So they are used to get rid of the cancer tumors. Also, cancer cells can survive in very high temperatures. There are, theories like that that are also proven by effective treatments like that.
I mean, today too. Sorry, I was going to add to that in today's medical field too, there are certain homeopathic doctors that really calm the parents down when there is a fever of 100 or 102, and they reassure you that it's actually a good thing that a child has a fever, not to the extent where it's unmanageable and the child is burning, but sometimes it's very useful.
Right. Not only useful, it trains the immune system of the body.
Absolutely.
I would remark that, homeopathic doctors, I don't support homeopathy. I'm sorry.
No,
because
please.
To me, classic homeopathy has only 200 years of history. I prefer to rely on longer history, that.
Ancient.
I wouldn't say it's not helpful, but, there are a lot of issues there that are not very good for the body. So I wouldn't, natural is very different from homeopathy because it's not.
Can you tell us the difference? I think a lot of parents would
against
appreciate
any chemicals that are used in the, any chemicals that are like, you can't really use mercury to get rid of mercury.
Oh my, yes.
They dilute it so much that, but that dilution still brings you, still it's still in there. So they might say, oh, you don't understand how it works, but I have so many things to use
Mhm.
that have 6,000 years of history. Why would I use something that has only 200 and that is still using bad elements in there, bad minerals?
So the difference between natural and homeopathic is
There is still difference. There
there's
is
a
still
huge.
difference. Yeah, yeah.
What's the
Homeopathy is
natural
not
and what's
natural.
the
Well,
homeopathic?
natural is God told us, it's in the Bible, it's in the scripture. He says, I give you seeds and herbs to correct any ailments that you have. It's in Genesis.
And that's what our
That's
grandmothers and Egyptian
exactly,
time, that's
yeah.
what they use, like turmerics and rosemaries and
Which is called now
Mhm.
non-traditional, but until 1913 in United States, that was traditional.
And very helpful and incredibly
And of course,
useful
very
until
helpful. Yeah.
today.
Yeah, we use like one drop of, let's say, the essential oil.
But that's from
It's so effective.
It's very
It's a lot more
effective.
effective than you'll have pills. Another problem is that people might not see that effect, is because I just recently saw that with my own eyes. People are buying a lot of stuff at the Whole Foods, thinking that it's a health food market. And we had colloidal silver. People know that it's good antibiotic, and it's good to use it. The colloidal silver that I use, it's 2,000 parts, okay, per milliliter. The ones that they sell at the Whole Foods, and it's a good company. Sovereign Silver, I think, is
Yeah.
the one that's the most, the best quality company. But they put a cap on the effectiveness of the products that you can sell to them. They wouldn't accept 2,000 parts colloidal silver. I mean, of course, it's liability. It's all because people come and they get it from the shelf. They don't know how to use it. It still needs to be, you need to be educated on how to use all of
Correct.
that too.
So it's compromised.
So yeah.
It's
So that's why they
compromised.
compromise. But the result of that compromise is that people get disappointed, because
Yes.
when they buy colloidal silver that has only 10 parts, 10 compared to 2,000 that we're using, how you're going to have
Correct.
the same effect? You're not going to have any effect.
Absolutely. And I'll add on
way.
to that in today's society, people are very, very locked into instant gratification. Like they want
Right.
instant results, where natural might take a little bit more time because it builds. And but everything else is just instant. So you get used to that instant.
Right.
It's like fever. Not a lot of people will make effort to put vinegar underneath the feet or use an essential oil or a cold bath. They'll use the Tylenol and the Motrin
Right.
to subside it. So
Not realizing that all that fever, God who created everything and us, I don't think he made a mistake making childhood diseases, right? That was done for a reason. And the reason is for the body to be trained so much that it would recognize any foreign substance that is coming into the body. Not at the time that it went through all the body into the brain, and then only body would be starting fighting against it, which we see now a lot with all the aluminum, with all the neurotoxins that we have that are used in vaccines, right? So all of that time is lost because we suppressed the immune system. We suppress the immune system doing what it's not supposed to do, actually, and coming back to the your question, your original question.
What's natural and homeopathic?
No, but before that.
Oh, we had another question before that. It's
we
so
went
natural
all the way
in
to the
conversations.
from inoculation,
Yes.
from inoculation, how we came to the point now. So they started inoculating people, public, and it was pretty much very effective, until they started inoculating majority of the public, which you would need to transport now all of these substances, right? And in order to be able to be transportable, you would need to add preservatives and adjuvants and all of that. So that's how it all started.
It got
And
worse.
and it was
got
got worse
worse.
and worse and worse until in before 1986. The problem was that all these manufacturers of vaccines, they were getting a lot of lawsuits against them. They were paying out a lot of money. That's why they applied to the public health institutions here, and they decided
They were getting lawsuits because of damages
because of damages that they were causing
in 1986.
before
Before
1986. That's why the act was it was national. I forgot how it was
I think
called.
I have
That's
it
why
too.
yeah.
It was in 1986 where there was a jurisdiction passed, correct?
Yeah, National Childhood Vaccine
There you
Injury
go.
Act. That was
Yes.
before that. I mean, imagine you're producing something like right now they're producing medications, right? They're producing drugs, and every 5 years we see a new drug came out. Ozempic came out. Now everyone
Is on
used it,
Ozempic?
and it's it's damaging body so much.
Oh my
So
gosh.
now lawsuits already
Correct.
started against it.
Severe
So
mental
every-
health issues are arising from Ozempic.
everything. It damages liver, it damages the pancreatic pancreas. So this is the same like that. Imagine the vaccines were like that. They research something, they come out with that, and then they start the injecting children and people with that, and few years later they see that they start having lawsuits. So they applied, and public health institutions decided, because it's public health issue, they decided, why don't we, pass the Immunity Act practically. That National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act became Immunity Act for the manufacturers of vaccines, meaning that the lawsuits against them are not going to be paid by them, but they're going to be paid by the government with our taxes. So that's what, and years ago, they don't have it anymore on their website, but you would go there and you would be amazed at how much payouts they were giving to people.
Why isn't it not there anymore?
The total amount is not there anymore. They don't, because people would go on the website and see billions of dollars were paid out. It means that it's not good, right?
Something's off. Something's
is
wrong.
yeah. If it was good, why would they have payouts like that? It means they're something is damaging. Too many damages for that. That, considering that not every doctor knows how to claim the injury. After you claim the injury, it's only 2 years when they accept it. So if it's past 2 years,
No.
then it's not accepted
So there's
anymore.
a statute of limitation on these?
Oh yeah, there are a lot. So that's
I mean,
why
it's statute of limitation on a lot of but
almost everything. So that's what and that's why it's considered by the average calculation that it's only 1 of 10 were getting paid. Because the other 9 didn't know on time to apply, didn't know at all that
it takes
they can
time,
apply.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
For instance, if there's, I don't know, is there data and research that autism is caused?
Oh, there is a lot of
vaccine.
data.
So
there is a lot of data.
By the time
problem
the
is they don't-
child is diagnosed after 2 years old, correct? It's noticeable after 2.
It takes time.
It takes time.
to
So how is the
diagnose
parent
them.
gonna file any court case?
Exactly.
The statute of
Yeah.
limitation. You're gonna run out of time by the time your child's diagnosed with this
So
issue.
those are the main issues that the
Oh,
problem still exists, and it's not, if there was any drug that would cause so much damage, people would know and wouldn't use it for a long time. But plus, what is the plus of that act for the manufacturers is the public health is the one advertising their product.
What is in these MMRs? What's
The
offered?
worst now probably is aluminum. That is, that is neurotoxin. They used to have mercury more, and mercury was in amount that was 10,000 more than what we have in the food. And
Why
they
do we
say
need
we have it in
mercury
the
though?
food.
I don't get it.
That's
Why do
that.
we need
Okay.
aluminum and mercury in these vaccines?
So these metals, they are because see the natural immunity. Let's say the child got chicken pox, right? As a disease. They got infected with that as a disease. After they are healed from chickenpox, and the mortality rate from all these diseases when they get it in childhood, it's very low. I mean, I'm talking about United States,
Yeah,
civilized
no.
countries, because pretty much we have better hygiene, better food,
Yes.
we have all of that. So that's why the mortality rate is very low. By the way, all the people who are supporting vaccines 100%, which I'm not saying I'm supporting vaccines, but not 100%. I support the ones that are healthy and good for the, without
Right.
adjuvants, which pretty much it doesn't exist anymore today. So um, these people, are saying, oh, see, the rate of the disease went down.
Correct. It decreased after
It
vaccines.
decreased after
Yeah.
vaccines.
Yeah.
But we're not shooting for that. We're shooting for the mortality rate to be down,
Yes.
not the disease rate to be down, because we need those diseases. We need, when children get them when they're little, it's a lot easier for them to overcome those diseases. And what they gain as a result of that is lifetime immunity.
I remember, doctor, when I had chicken pox,
Mm-hmm.
it was not even that.
No, it's
I
most
think
of the
it's-
children have. We
Yeah,
had it in Armenia.
We had it,
Most of
yeah,
us had
and
it.
we took it so well. I mean, my mom
Right.
took care of us with
Mhm.
proper nutrition,
Yeah.
nurture,
Yeah.
but it was just a week.
Yeah.
A week of just itching. But I think what's going on in today's society, they really have put a different definition to illnesses like this, where, oh my God, it's hurtful, it's harmful, they're gonna compromise other people's health, and there's death, and it's just, there's a lot of scare in parents, and that's why more parents don't know what to do. So they
Right.
fall into, let me just vaccine and get it over with. On top of that, there's the no vaccine law. What doctor do you go to when you need care for your child?
Exactly. It's
You're
very
shut
hard.
down
Yeah.
from everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very hard in today's society to raise healthy children.
Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah. So what they're doing is the mortality rate pretty much doesn't exist, from infectious disease with children who are not vaccinated. Now, the ones who get vaccinated, that immunity lasts very short time, 7 to 10 years. So let's say they get vaccinated when they are 7, which is one of the, right? So in 10 years, they're 17. If they get that, the disease, if they get infected at 17, it's a lot harder on the body
Yes.
than it was
'Cause
then.
they haven't
And then
built that
mortality rate is higher. So what they were trying to do is they would put adjuvants there to delay the time of when the immunity still works, and that's where aluminum is coming from. Now they have it aluminum instead of mercury, which mercury, that was Kennedy who did a lot of work on it, temerosol, and if you ever seen that,
Yes.
I was once at Rite Aid and they dropped the mercury thermometer, which are outlawed now. You can only get them as a vintage thermometer, which were very reliable.
Yes.
And, and everyone knew that if it's mercury, then it's dangerous. It hazmat. Right away, they would cover the whole store with hazmat, all these yellow things, and they wouldn't allow anyone to go there. But to put it inside of a tiny baby, it was okay, right? Or they have in every store, grocery store where they sell big fish, they have the notice there that
Yeah.
it's toxic.
Why
it's
are we
not
going
good for
too
the-
far? What about pregnancy? You're not allowed to eat sushi fish because of the
Exactly,
mercury.
because of
So
that.
it's okay for a pregnant woman not to consume, but you're putting it
And
in
if we
child.
consume, when we're consuming it, it's
What does it do to a brain?
10,000 less per particle of the body that comes into the body. On top of that, the body would be able to get rid of it because it goes through the stomach. So we have a lot of preventive, mechanisms before it goes into the blood system, right? Bloodstream. With the vaccines, they're injected. So it goes into the
Oh
bloodstream
my
very
gosh.
fast. And with aluminum, what we got, the body has like 5 different gatekeepers in the body, right? It was stomach, it was this and that. Another one, the main one that is getting under a lot of attacks now, it's blood-brain barrier. So there are a lot of particles that wouldn't be able to go through blood-brain barrier,
Mhm.
but aluminum does.
Does, yes,
And
I've read
that's
that.
what the main thing. And the usually the binders that we're using for heavy metals, they don't go through the blood-brain barrier. That's why in the brain, whatever went there, it stays there
Yes.
unless you use specific, and they're called nootropics. We've seen a lot of results with the CBG oil that now, and I have special coffee. I have it for cognitive
Yeah. The
health,
mushroom
for memory.
coffees?
No, not
Not the
mushroom. I have
lion's
not
mane?
tropic. No, I didn't like the taste. I'm very picky about the taste
Yes.
of the coffee, and yeah, I love coffee a lot. So it's very good for cognitive health.
Hmm.
For sharpness, for
Yeah. I
people
read
that
it
if you
at a recent data. I read that they did studies that coffee, the more coffee you consume, the less you are prone to getting Alzheimer's disease,
exactly, yeah.
which was really
Yeah.
interesting. I
Yeah.
was like,
Well, it's
wow.
and aluminum is very connected to Alzheimer's disease now. We have
Yes.
epidemics of
A lot of
Alzheimer's
illnesses.
now, and
Mhm.
they're saying,
There
"Oh
is.
no, because we live longer." No, all blue zones that we
Hmm.
know, people are living longer than people are living here. Here is 80 years.
Yeah.
The most of the people over there, in the blue zones, is
Hmm.
more than 100,
That's
and
true.
they're all cognitively very well
Functioning.
healthy. They're not unhealthy like people here.
Yeah.
So that's what makes you. And I always tell people, remember what your grandmas were saying. Remember how your grandmas were living. And every time they're saying, oh, there's so much information that is coming from this side, from that side, you don't know who to believe in. Everything, right? It's in
Correct.
politics, it's in medicine, it's in everywhere, in every so how to know in medicine is really nutrition. It's very easy. Go back to where people using
Yeah.
it all this time, in 6,000
It's okay.
years, and now
Do you want to take the
we
phone
were
call?
no, it's
We
fine.
have people answer phone calls here. I have a question, if it's okay. I want to kind of dive into the vaccine world a little bit because I know a lot of parents are very
Hmm.
curious about this. How many vaccines are there now? Because I was reading 50, but I know it's not 50. It has to be like what's close to 78 now that children consume
Hmm.
have to.
Hmm.
Is it 78?
72. 72
72?
were approved. I didn't check on that, right now, but 72 were approved. So
72 are
but
approved.
then in a pipeline, they have close to 100.
And that's including like
That would
Gardasil and all
be
those
that would be yeah, that would be little by little.
additional.
Well, Gardasil is not mandatory yet,
It's not. So it's part of the
right?
100.
But it's on the way there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're convincing, it's not mandatory, but if they come and show video to the young, girls, 12, 10, 12 years old, that they're
Yeah.
going to get cervical cancer if they
Yeah.
don't get that
Gardasil.
vaccine, they
Yeah.
will be scared enough to go do it themselves.
100%.
And if their
100%.
parents are against it, they would be hiding it from their parents.
Yeah.
So that's the propaganda machine is very bad.
It's very scary because I remember going to my doctors when I was, I think, 11. I had just came from Armenia.
Mhm.
And we were going and they were trying to convince my mom, and I think Gardasil had just came out. This is 37 years ago.
Mhm.
They were telling my mom that it's gonna, prevent her from getting ovarian cancer. And they had almost
Mhm.
convinced my mom. And
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that she's such a sharp,
Mhm.
intelligent woman. She's like, no, 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 we're not going to put this in
Mhm.
my daughter's body. But there's a lot of parents who actually fall in that fear.
Yeah, unfortunately, fear makes you do a lot
Yeah.
of mistakes, and that's why we, our people have been pretty wise all this time. I'm talking about our community mostly, but then good
Mhm.
that each one of us need to do the best to open other people's eyes. And that's what, I had to go against my medical community at some point. Now a lot of people open their eyes and all of that. But each one of us, if I wouldn't do that, so many people wouldn't know about it, but you wouldn't know about the dangers. And there are so many things we can, we know so much that we can transfer and spread to others. And
Well, my curiosity is, what about the illnesses rates and the death rates? I mean, they when you go into the doctor's office, they make it seem like polio is such a big deal. But then when you look at the data and the research, you're like, how rare is it for a child to get polio now?
what polio is very interesting case because they changed the name, the term for the paralysis.
Hmm.
Okay. And paralysis is caused by the vaccine itself. And I'm talking like that. I had my sister, my cousin, in Armenia. She's one of the top doctors, and she was arguing with me on polio specifically. She was agreeing with me on all other vaccines that, they're dangerous, they're causing a lot of side effects and damages and all of that. And unless it's an inoculation part, we shouldn't use the adjuvants and all of that. And what opened her eyes was after, in Ukraine, there was
Hmm.
a, what is it called? Velvet Revolution, Soros Revolution. They came close with United States. From here, they brought, they started working very closely with CDC. I was working with CDC in the United States. I knew Fauci from long time ago because I was
Really?
working as a first aids doctors in a doctor in Armenia. And at that time, by the way, propaganda was that everyone will be dying from AIDS, like we were dying from COVID a few years ago, right?
Hmm.
Same was at that time. It was like 35 years ago. But that was my first impression of Fauci. And again, it was the same fear tactics that they were using at that time. It was AIDS, Same what happened with COVID.
Hmm.
Just imagine same thing we went through with AIDS, and
Wow.
especially the doctors that were working with that. So anyway, they brought a lot of the polio vaccines in Ukraine,
Hmm.
and they had epidemics of polio right after the vaccination.
Oh man.
Before that they were not vaccinating that much, so all this supply of the vaccines was that, that caused the epidemic. And she actually sent me that, and she says, this is what you were talking. I'm like, yeah, that's, it causes it. And they, most of the time, it causes paralysis that is, not
Wow.
called polio. And
Hmm.
that's why the statistic is not showing you that this is what it was caused by.
At one
Yeah.
point, there was a database where you can see, correct? Like the damages, and there
There
was
is,
like,
yeah,
so.
there is one. One is by the, yeah, I have this because I don't remember all the websites. Of course, I start printing on my computer, it opens up.
Mhm.
But the government site for that is Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. For
That's what it's
some,
called?
yeah, and it's vaers.hhs.gov.
Mhm.
So that's the one. Now, there is also nonprofit organization which I really like, and they have a lot of information on their websites. That's National Vaccine Information Center. It's nvic.org,
Mhm.
and the one is Kennedy's site. It's
Yes.
Children's Health Defense.org. So those are all, those are main sites that people should use to, I have a couple of articles on my blog. It's globalsolutionsfoundation.org.
I'm going to link
That,
everything so everybody
yeah,
can
yeah, you can, and I
take it.
can provide a lot of
Yeah.
articles
That would
and
be great.
graphs and tables actually to,
Yes.
to the thing, because at some point I was collecting all that information until I really, it's so much information. There are so many articles that are, it's on the peer reviewed site on PubMed. There are so many articles. Anyone who is doubting anything that we're talking about, that's what I'm saying. Even if you post links there, they just read the title.
Yeah.
They don't go inside and kind of dig for the truth. That the truth is inside in details usually. And I'm not even talking about people from the other side. But then, you know, I was on the other side. I was on the side of this is what medical community is saying. This is what we were studying in medical school, and this is what I should go by, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I started seeing first parent who told me that no, there are a lot of side effects, there are a lot, I'm like, okay, where do I go? So I just got an insert of any vaccine. You can just get an insert and check the insert. Side effects are all there. People when they're coming and they're saying, I started taking thyroid medication and this is what happened. This happened to me. I'm like, have you checked the side effects of that
Oh my, goes
medication?
straight
Because
to the
usually,
liver.
yeah,
It hits the liver
usually
and more
that's what
thyroid issues.
that's the reason you have it all. Okay, but when we I needed that's another conversation. Then I would educate on the alternatives, what can do. But on the look on the other side, look and go and check the articles. Like a lot of times in conversations I present the link and they're not even looking in there. It's obvious that they don't
Yeah.
even check. They say you didn't present any proof. I'm like, this here is the link, you just need to read it. What kind of
That's the
proof that
problem.
that's the
That's
problem.
the again,
People
that's
became lazy.
lazy, instant
I am
gratification.
saying bambasor, gossiping. Gossip is the worst thing. First of all, I'm saying, gossip is a sin itself.
Yes, it is.
The one who is spreading that gossip, that's even worse sin.
It's a
It's like a
sinner,
double
yeah.
sin. And lately, I feel that's where we have problems in Armenia right now because of that, because people were listening to the gossip. They would never go check what was happening in this period of time, what was happening in that,
Correct.
or remember what you saw with your own eyes. I actually had a program on that about how to figure
Yeah,
out, remember with your
absolutely.
own eyes. And that's why they say you can't really, parents know the best, right? Because they got the vaccine and next day they know something is not right with their child.
Oh my God,
So it's with their own eyes. They
that
see
breaks
that.
my
How can
heart because
yeah.
I've seen so many parents like after and this is not my opinion. I've
Mm-hmm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
seen and heard people say this like after what is it, the MMR? I think it's they just their child is just so different and
Mm-hmm.
they notice like
Mm-hmm.
such delay in their children
Right.
and it breaks my heart to see people
Mm-hmm.
like this. So that's why it's very important to do research and listen to podcasts like this and listen to maybe Pro too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're confused, just look it from all the sides. Don't just base a
Right.
decision off fear
Right. And I'm
and
saying there
threat.
is a time and place for Western medicine. It's,
Correct.
no matter how I love naturally, and I always go by the principle do no harm, but sometimes we need just to measure benefit
From
versus
Western. I agree.
the
I
damage
agree.
ratio. And that's what we were
Correct.
taught in our medical school.
Yeah,
That's what they were teaching us to analyze all sides, to analyze. That's what scientists does.
that's right.
We shouldn't be afraid of truth. We shouldn't be afraid of saying, oh, you know what, I feel more comfortable here, maybe I shouldn't go into there. Scientist is for us to find where it's not comfortable and go for the truth, because
Correct.
from us a lot of people can be dependable on
I
their
agree.
health, on their
I agree.
spiritual immunity, any kind of the damages that they can have.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, for the parents who are watching this that chose not to vaccinate their children, what are some proper protocol that they can take when traveling? Because you're told that
Hmm.
from when you travel to Mexico, your child's going to get sick and what are the chances of survival rate? Well, this is this and this is that. So any advice as a medical provider, as a doctor you can give?
I love essential oils.
Me too.
I use them at
What
almost
brand
at
do you
because
like?
it's easier to. I like doTERRA
Me
because
too.
yeah,
I love
doTERRA and
doTERRA.
Young Living. I know they're
Young
very
Living
good,
too. It's a
and
little
I know
pricier,
how.
but
Yeah, I know how because I used to buy at the Whole Foods. The smell was different from doTERRA, of course, but I have one friend who
I
was.
mean, you can apply and consume doTERRA too. There's ones that you can apply topically and
Yeah,
eat.
yeah.
That's why I like the more expensive brands, right?
It's expensive, but you don't use a lot of it.
No.
So one drop of it is already very powerful. And I have my friend who was a chemist at the Glendale Community College. She checked them in the lab. When she
Mm.
told me the result, she says just throw away the ones that you got at the Whole
Whole
Foods.
Foods is
I
no,
know none of
not
the
as.
reputable companies that I'm working with would have their products in the
Mm-hmm,
in Whole Foods or any other stores actually, because like I said, they
mm-hmm.
put cap on the
Yeah,
effectiveness on the therapeutic dose. So there is no you wouldn't be able to find therapeutic dose in the store, and
yeah.
if it's just waste of money,
Which ones
to
do you
get it done.
recommend for immunity and to build a stronger immune from the oils?
The rosemary,
Rosemary.
they have also the clove oil is one of the,
Uh-huh.
that's anti-inflammatory, very powerful one. Cinnamon oil is good because cinnamon oil is warming up, bringing, the fighters, bringing the army into that place, right?
Yes. Yes.
doTERRA has on guard. I love on
On
guard.
guard is
My children loved it
it
all
smells
the
so
time.
good
When
too.
I realized how powerful it is one time when I think I was in Dubai, and I came back and my son says, "Mom, I got sick." So for me that was the worst thing that could happen when
Your child
when
says
they
something.
get sick when
I
I'm
know.
not here. And then I said, "Oh, I don't, but I had at home, I had Angard at home." And my little one says, "Yeah, I know. I gave it to him, to my older one." And I'm like, wow, how much they know
Mm-hmm.
how effective it is,
Mm-hmm.
that now
Mm-hmm.
he's the one giving it to me
Yeah.
without me knowing that.
So
So
essential
that's
oils are good. What else do you recommend for the non-vaccine
um
families?
the ivermectin
Hmm.
now is, there's so much research coming out that, and they were using it for malaria all the time, which is, which
Mm-hmm.
is in third world
Where
countries,
can
that
they
would
get
be
like the
the
best ivermectin? Like
in
some
Mexico.
Mexico, I know.
Not here. It's not expensive over there. It's very, but then yeah, well, the only ones that are getting here is the ones that they're having the lupus
Hmm.
and the, autoimmune diseases
There's so much
and
of autoimmune disease spike. Every other woman has a thyroid issue,
mhm. You know
Hashimoto's,
why?
Graves' disease
Yeah.
after vaccines, correct? Or is it something
Um,
else in the air?
I
I don't know.
wouldn't. I didn't see that much correlation to the vaccines, honestly, as much as to the glyphosate and to the plastics that we're using. It's estrogen dominant. I'm doing thermography,
Hormone
right?
disruptors,
For life.
basically.
That's my main, income. I do thermal imaging, so I see on in the body how we get, the for any cancer to become a cancer,
Hmm.
to become a tumor in the body, it takes 20 years on average, according to statistics. So before one cell becomes two cells and starts multiplying, it's like 13 years passing
Hmm.
before that. We see a lot of changes in the body before it happens. And now, when one cell becomes two cells, you can't really identify, you can't really detect it in the body at that time. By the time mammogram or ultrasound are able to detect anything, the tumor needs to be half centimeter in size, right?
Hmm.
And it already has billions of cells in there. And that happens again on average because it's calculated that every cell, every, size of the tumor doubles every 90 days. It's calculated with that. On average, that's what's happening. Of course, there are cancers that are more aggressive and less aggressive, but on average, this is what's happening. So by the time mammogram or ultrasound are able to detect half centimeter tumor, it's been 7 years since it started growing. So when they call it early detection, how
It's not
can it
very
early
early.
detection when it's 7 years past? Okay, so with thermography, we can detect tumor, of course, but we see changes in the body that would be causing tumor. And then if you correct those changes, let's say it's lymphatic congestion, it's estrogen dominance. It's so easy to see it on thermography. Estrogen dominance is so prevailing now, almost everyone has
Right.
it.
It's in the foods too, all these pesticides.
The plastics,
Plastics and
estrogen is affected by because it has xenoestrogens,
Mhm.
right? And you look around, everyone is drinking the bottled water.
plastic bottled water.
It's
Yeah.
so
And it's been
bad.
under the sun, God knows.
Exactly. So all that bleaching into the water, that's the first reason, And
Yes.
with men, you think, okay, for men it's not. No, men get those xenoestrogens
Yes.
so they get extra
Prostate and all
estrogen
that.
that they
Yeah.
don't need
Yeah.
to be there, and then we shouldn't be surprised we have so many LGBT people.
I was just
here.
going to tap into that because I was going to say,
Yeah.
I want to talk about this because there's a
They say,
huge phenomenon about
I feel
this.
like a girl, or
Yeah.
I feel when it's a boy, I feel like a girl. Of course, because he gets in vaccines.
Yes.
What do we get? In vaccines, we get, so they grow vaccines on the fetal tissue, right?
Aborted children's
Aborted
fetal tissue.
fetal tissue. So they don't separate girl tissue from the boy tissue.
It's just
It's all mixed up, right? So, and we inject that DNA practically into the body.
Which vaccine has that?
All vaccines are growing.
All vaccines have
of course,
this.
Yeah, all vaccines are
Let's
growing.
just say
under
100 of them to be
Yeah,
safe.
you can't grow. How do you grow? The substance of the vaccine without having the tissue. You need
What
to
else
have a
is in
tissue.
there besides the mercury, besides the heavy metals, besides the fecal? What is it?
Could have the formalin that they put a dead body into for it to preserve.
Is this on the ingredients? When
Yes.
so they
Anyone
make
who's
it
doubting,
legible
they just
and
go to, and why don't they? If you ask at the doctor's office, they might not give you the insert.
do they know?
I'm sure they know. Most of the doctors know. They might not look at it carefully. They might not check each ingredient, like with the food now, right? They try to hide the ingredients now. They try to hide it under scientific name that people wouldn't know what it means, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're hiding it with different words.
Yeah, MC5,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need to go and check each ingredient to see what's in there, because you wouldn't know what, that's how they started hiding now all this fetal tissue in there. So we get that fetal tissue into a boy that has DNA of a girl. And
does that really alter
tiny baby like this, huh?
But does that really alter their?
I don't know. As there is no scientific study like that, which would be done on what is the amount of DNA that we can inject into someone for that someone to have features of the other gender. There is no study like that.
So then how do we know that is that, though?
Instead of sponsoring studies like that, they sponsor stupid studies like the frogs or something, like. But then there is a study on the frogs, by the way, that the river where one of the factories were getting rid of the plastics and water, that all had all these plastic ingredients in there. 70% of the frog became gay.
Oh my God. There's actual study like this?
There is a study like that, which studies like that they are supposed to do. So those are the plastics that were causing, that. Of course, we can't say only plastics. For it to have real scientific value, that study needs to also check, let's say, peer reviewed, it should be done in another river, in another location, for
Oh, yeah.
example.
Yes,
It
yes.
also needs to
Several
be
different.
done what other factors could cause that, but that's already that's already something to think
So my
about.
curiosity is then where are we getting this information from if there are no actual studies besides the frog study that it's a very very ooh, isn't it like a risky thing to kind of put out there that the gay and lesbians
Mhm.
they're that way because of vaccines,
That would be one of the factors, of course.
because of the
The
DNA change?
the vaccines, then we were talking about plastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that xenoestrogen got into, it was a boy, he got vaccine first, that DNA already, let's say, affecting what we just say roughly 10%. I don't know how much it affects, right?
Mm-hmm.
10% of it's called phenotype, that the genes are genotype and phenotype. It's how it's expressed, right? The gender is expressed. So let's say 10% of that was altered through the vaccine. Another 20% is altered through the plastics, right? Another 20% is altered through propaganda that that it's better lifestyle. So now it's right, it's more than 50% already you're leaning towards the other gender. I'm giving very conservative numbers, I'm sure, if
Mm-hmm.
if studies like that would it be, but no one is
Sorry
interested in the
guys.
yeah
Yeah.
no
So
one is interested in doing study like that.
so basically then what I'm understanding is that if you have a male,
Mm-hmm.
if that male is injected with female, sorry, is this off? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If he's injected with female DNA,
Mm-hmm.
there is a chance that the sexuality would switch over to more.
Mm-hmm. Of course, there is a chance. How much? And I'm saying, I was talking to one
Wow,
doctor. He
that's
says, but you don't know that little amount, how much. Exactly, I don't know. If there is something in the scientific world that we don't know, why don't we research? You know, I don't know. And research it not the way sometimes they research it, they do it one sided because, oh, manufacturers paid the money,
mm-hmm.
you know. I remember I took my dog to veterinary long time ago. He's 16 already. When he was a puppy, he outlived his life, by the way, by 4 years now.
Because of
He's
you.
so energy
What
full of
did you didn't
full of
vaccinate him,
energy.
did
I
you?
didn't vaccinate him after that. No,
I can't handle you.
I didn't vaccinate him. It was
Oh my
first
god,
time
it's
I
so
took him,
funny.
just first things, and I asked her. I said, "Do we have any studies on the She said the only studies that were done by manufacturers of the vaccines for pets, and she says the longest study was done for 7 years only. So if they live
Wow.
for 16 years and you don't, with aluminum, for example, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be right away effect that, oh, we vaccinated and right away they're going to have Alzheimer's. But
It
isn't it?
takes time,
It takes
yeah.
time.
Of course it's
It's
going to.
accumulative, and again, I'm telling people you're trying to stay away from foil, not to use it, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
aluminum, or aluminum
But you
pots,
inject it in your body.
but you inject it in your body. And anything that we consume, again, goes through so many gates that would keep it from spreading more. But injecting it, it goes into the bloodstream. And from the blood, if it's a small particle enough,
Mm-hmm.
today with nanos, it's very
Yeah.
easy to get into the blood brain, into
That's
the brain.
that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what we were talking about, how if parents choose to not vaccinate their kids, what are some safety
Mm-hmm.
precautions they can take? So essential oils was one. You
Mm-hmm.
there was another, what was that one you
Well,
said?
it's see the vaccines themselves is not only danger. So in
Mm-hmm.
order for not to be bombarded with other things, we're bombarded on every level, right? The air, the water, the food,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So to cleanse all the time, we need to cleanse the body all the time. We need to
Is it
keep the
safe for
liver in
children
the
as well to
for
cleanse?
yeah, of course,
What
children
are your
need to do that.
recommendations?
Then like on everyday level with the spraying now. Another thing that I
Oh, the
noticed, by the
airplanes?
way, Yeah. Another thing that I
You're my
noticed,
kind of woman.
because I see it in practice. I'm
Mhm.
doing the thermography, right?
Mhm.
Before we were doing, thermography, and some
Yeah.
people with like 50% of people that were coming, I would say their sinuses were clean. It started during COVID, and now, until now, I don't remember when, if there was one person that had clean sinuses.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that
No, I'm
anymore.
struggling with it too. I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
you can
easy
tell.
to correct.
Mhm.
Very easy to
Yeah,
correct
okay. I'll
that.
talk to you after.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, but then, and again, it's
Mhm.
correcting is easy, but you're not correcting like you we would correct it before.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
would take long time before you would have problem again. Now it's almost like weekly we need to cleanse it all. Like, and with the
Yes,
vaccine
I see what you're
injured
saying. Cleansing your
children,
body,
yeah, with the vaccine
detoxing.
children, it's not only the vaccine. They can have, they can be injured, and the body
Mm.
would be still able to get rid of all
Is it
that damage.
reversible?
But
Are damages
it is
reversible? Like
reversible.
autism
Depends, of course.
on
We're
the
not
level?
gods. We can't do everything. But of course, it depends on how soon you start, how soon you realize the damages that are there.
Oh.
What are the things that you're using? Because again, you can bind heavy metals from the rest of the body, but from brain, it's very hard to bind it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why we need to use, and I've seen CBG did a miracle. We had someone who couldn't
CBD
talk for
oil?
like CBG, not CBD.
CBG.
CBG is the one from the sprout. It's more expensive because they need to catch time between um, when it's grown into the sprout before it becomes adult plant. Plus, it doesn't
Mm.
have the THC that makes you,
Yes, yes.
So for
High
children,
and
it
stuff.
wouldn't be, yeah.
Of
So
course.
it's still in a sprout, time frame there. That's why it's more
There's
expensive.
different
That's
sprays and stuff that I've seen that you spray under the tongue.
a zeolite.
What does it have? Like, doesn't it have like Margansofka in it or something like that?
I don't know. But zeolite, we need to be very careful with zeolite because usually it's mineral that, taken from the mineral composition of the land. It could have a lot of lead. You need to
Oh
check it for
my.
lead because, yeah, people got excited that it cleanses very well. It's very hard to find good
Oh.
zeolite.
So it's like you're cleansing of one thing but putting in another damage.
Exactly.
So you have to be
Yeah.
mindful.
Yeah. We need to be mindful of all of, it's a lot of things. Like I said, the homeopathy is the same. I like Chinese herbs, but the way they're grown in China is a lot of
Yeah,
heavy metals,
it is.
And again, we
It
had
is.
a case when the girl, she had eczema all over her body in her childhood. She used everything until she came to Chinese herbalist, and
Mhm.
he gave her, all these pills, capsules, and she was taking capsules. Everything was fine, and she got married. She started checking her body to see, they wanted to have a baby. She wanted to make sure she's all healthy, and her heavy metals went off the chart. They couldn't understand how can she have so many metals
My God.
until they traced back onto that. So I use Chinese herbs every time I do, but again, we use a lot of stuff together with that, so to prevent it from. So it needs to be complex. Not only, okay, you use zeolite, that's all. No, with zeolite, let's say um, it binds the metals, right? It needs to have a way of getting out as soon as possible. Not only so the liver needs to be in good condition, the colon needs to be in good condition. It's all of that. That's why I'm saying, and people, yeah, even healthy people, even the ones that are not damaged. What is today's the number one is the thing is glyphosate.
Yes.
People are staying
Sprayed
away
on
from bread.
everything.
This is so bad. We need grains. And then you see the whole society is like cuckoo, cuckoo.
Yeah.
Because neurologically, they are not normal.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Yeah.
They become cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because vitamin B,
Mm-hmm.
the B6, deficiency, B6, B12, all that
Vitamin D.
neurological.
My God.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking neurological stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we get it from
Mm-hmm.
grains. We need grains. We can't stay away from
I
grains.
actually took a bread making class, and I make my own bread at home with
I do too. I just
tetramor.
did today.
Yeah, it's the best thing, right?
Tetwachamoro.
Yes, there you
I
go.
am, yeah.
And my bread instructor has one she's been taking care of for over 12 years. So imagine all like the amazing bacteria in that. But anyway, I learned about grains and how like torena, how grains are stripped away. It's like an egg. One
Right.
sort you
I
sell the
am.
white part in the store and you sell the yellow part to all the beauty industries to make like retinol and all these other things. So how important it is to get like good grain to make your bread.
Right.
Not just like whatever flour you see in the store.
Yeah, the important part is the, good grain, clean grain,
Clean grain. Yeah.
and as much authentic as possible,
Yeah.
because every year using GMO on the fields, it
Yeah.
mingles with the gene in there. So it's not the same gene anymore.
GMO does alter gene, doesn't it? I mean, it alters your everything.
Well,
Not
if
just gene
again,
alteration,
if the year after, it was very interesting story from Armenia and actually that was when we were going to Artsakh, and all the way there, we would see the stork nests on the poles, and we were asking tour guide, what are these? Because from the far you can see it's a stork nest. He says there's a stork nest, and there is a whole story about it. So, and you know how the Monsanto and Bill Gates, the company, how they were going into the India. He was, he has so many lawsuits against him in India. Actually, he was banned at some point of going there. So they were spreading their GMO seeds, right? And so what they would come and they would say, we have free seeds for you. Do you want to get? And of course, instead of getting seeds from Imagine Tomato, collecting them, right? And then planting them, it's easier to just get free seeds.
correct.
So our farmers were planting those seeds. Now, years later, they started noticing storks are not there anymore.
Oh.
And the wisdom of a farmer, the wisdom of a person who is dealing with soil all the time, because they know how the nature works. They know how they're close to God through doing that, right?
Yes, of course.
And so they started tracing what happened. So if storks are not there, it means there is no food for them. What do they eat? So they eat, how is it in English? I know only in Russian.
Say it in Armenian,
Grizun.
maybe I'll...
Grizun, like mice, little mice, and
yeah. Little insects and little things like
yeah. So and little mice are eating insects, right? And bugs, and they also remembered we haven't seen a lot of bugs lately on our fields, which is GMO. What GMO is doing?
Yeah, of course.
GMO is intended
keeping them away and
to blow up their stomachs, right? Why all of that, and that's what glyphosate is doing too. It's making holes in our stomach, and right.
Yes,
that's what the it was supposed to blow up stomachs of the bugs, and that's how it protects those seeds from being attacked by the bugs. But it also makes holes in our colon. I said stomach. Anyway, so this is what and they noticed that, and they said that happened after we planted those seeds. So those seeds are the problem. And then they started reversing. Of course, it's not easy to reverse.
Yes,
and that's
I can
what
imagine.
The whole science of regenerative agriculture now. I'm so amazed with that.
Isn't it fascinating?
My dream is to have Armenia having that, and actually
like your own land.
We were talking about that last year with Bagrat Sarpazan, and now he's old, like I didn't have time to go see him last year, so we decided we're going to meet this year and do that. But with regenerative agriculture, you can reverse it. but it takes long time,
Yes.
at least
The
1.5,
energy,
two
the time.
years. But our farmers were able to reverse it. So, now we have
More
stores
stores.
all the way there. And that's little by little, they started not coming back, but their life started to come back. And I was
Wow.
thinking about it, and I'm like, we're talking about, oh, lab, we need to go check it, test it, this, that, right? See how the wisdom of regular farmer didn't need any lab. They figured out what these GMO
Just
seeds are.
naturally.
Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
why you go back to the natural.
To natural, to roots,
Mhm.
to the roots, to our church is the root of
Yeah.
all of that, because that wisdom, we get that with every Sunday I go, I get communion. It gets into me,
Of
the
course
Holy
it.
Spirit, kind of you feel it, how the plus when it's based on the wisdom of 2000 years, we have it before that too, we were
Of
with God.
course.
They're saying, Christian. We became Christian 2,000 years ago. I'm like, no, we were from the beginning with God through hike. We lost it a little bit, and then we
Yeah.
came back. It wasn't new
Hopefully,
God
hopefully.
for us. We had that God from the beginning. We have
I love
our
that.
God
And
from
I
the
love the
time.
whole natural mentality too, because there is definitely something there that's very healing. And it's going to take a while for people to maybe be aware and conscious of it, but I
Right.
always pray, and as like you spread awareness that there's something there, that it worked, and we should kind of go back to those
Mm-hmm.
natural roots.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, if school is compromised for children when they're not vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
um, the doors are shut basically.
Right.
What advice do you give parents that are in that state?
Well, we were talking before we started. I fought for like 12 years against this all before people were able to see how many bills passed, right? We were fighting against each bill, SB 276, and as before we were petitioning. I was in the offices, senators' offices, going to Sacramento and all of that for 12 years. We didn't achieve anything because people were not open, were not seeing all that is coming. Or some people are thinking, oh, it's not going to be, my children are old. We each need to think, because our common good is our good always. Having sick children, sicker society affects all of us, because
We're
we pay
living in that society.
taxes to
Correct.
provide for these children. For the government, of course, when they need people just to follow the government, it's very good, because the family that is dependent on the government help, right? It's going to be doing what the government is telling them to do. So it's not going to be independent in their decisions and all of that. So we're not surprised that it's good for the government, but for the society, for the community, it can't be good. We all need to think about it. We had very good group on Facebook, Armenian parents, long time ago. I was surprised, so many Armenian families. I was so proud of our community, that we have so many educated moms and dads, who are so caring about the community, about
Hmm.
each other. And of course, they didn't come there with the good thing. They came there with the someone nephew, someone niece, someone, children got injured, damaged, all of that. And but they wanted to do good for everyone else. They could be isolated. Oh, I don't have time, I need to take care of my son or a daughter or something. But they were thinking about greater good, and that's what I think each one of us need to do. And it's not only me. I mean, I know, as a medical professional, I know a little bit more, but most of these parents, they're educated enough to be able
Hmm.
to do that,
I
to
agree.
do whatever they know, whatever
Yeah.
they know, they can.
And
um,
information is easily accessible now,
exactly, yeah.
thankfully. You can get
Yeah, well,
everywhere.
right information and not very right information is
True.
also easily accessible. So
True.
it's better, of course, when they are, listening to informational side, going and digging, that's what I'm saying, unfortunately, we all need to dig, because on the surface, they don't keep information on the surface. You Google something, it gives you all the, fake or information that is there to deceive you before you
Yes.
come to the information that is really, good for digesting, and
Yeah.
would lead you into the, but always helps to look at the both sides. Like I saw the damages, I started thinking, okay, if there are so many damages, and I checked on the,
Yeah.
that Wire's site had all the damage already enough, even if it's just 1/10 of all the cases that are out there,
There still
it's still,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's still a
absolutely.
lot for to pay attention. So I started paying attention, and then I started buying books, checking the research information and all of that. And I was so in shock at how much the brainwash was going one-sided, not allowing us to see, even to think about there is another side to that
I
story.
want to add to this because the amount of messages that I get of moms saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's right. What advice do you give the confused moms? Should they do it or should they not do it?
Okay, so
Tell me so
if
I
she's
they're
confused,
listening.
if
Yeah.
she's confused, check the insert.
Yeah. Check the
Open up
ingredient
the side effects in the insert. Check all the ingredients by
and
one.
make your decision
She
based off of
shouldn't
that.
believe you, or she shouldn't believe me. She
Correct.
doesn't know me or you. Why would anyone trust anyone? It's my son, it's my child's health, right? Why would I trust any lawyer, any doctor, anyone? Just check the original.
But that's
Check
the
the.
issue.
That's the issue, because
That's
they
the
wouldn't
issue.
want to.
They wouldn't want, I don't think that parents, my fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Snell,
Mhm.
I remember her until today, and I'm turning 40. I'll never forget her words. You know what she told me, doctor? She said,
Mm.
always question authority.
Mm.
Those words have stuck with me until today. And I told my son this. I said, always, I don't care if it's Donald Trump coming to you and talking to
Exactly.
you,
Yeah.
you always question authority.
Our community is surviving better than others. You know why? Because we were living under Soviet Union, and from the get-go, we don't trust
Yeah.
what they bring to
We
us,
have
right?
trust
You know
issues.
what?
But that allows
In
us to question a lot,
2020, yeah, in
right?
2020, when COVID happened, right? And then
Yes.
our war happened in
Yes.
Artsakh with the leader today that we lost the war. So they allocated here in United States, I remember there was a article, such a, on Yahoo, there was an article how they allocated. There were only 3 communities that were resistant to COVID vaccination.
Armenians was one of them.
Armenian was the first one. They allocated $1 million for propaganda specifically
Mhm.
in Armenian community. So the article was why Armenians are so resistant. We know what was happening, right?
Yes.
In Glendale,
Yes.
shopping malls were empty until
Very
they started.
reluctant, like not
People were like,
following.
yeah,
I mean, just
exactly. And
hardcore.
the article was analyzing why they would be so resistant, because one of the reasons was that it's a diaspora that is
Yeah.
living here, and it's very connected to the motherland. And because of what happened in the
Mhm.
motherland, and the current leader that lost the war is not very popular, that's why whatever
Mm.
he's offering to the population is not popular with the population. And here they follow what's done over there. They're very connected, so they're
Yeah.
not very. So I'm like, that's so. They know all of that.
But that's what mothers and fathers need to bring up. I want
Mm-hmm.
that inner fighter. Do
Mm-hmm.
you understand? So that
Mm-hmm.
when they're placed in that position of vaccine, and if you're confused, then listen to that instinct. Something's telling you
Mm-hmm.
something's off, and
Mm-hmm.
read the insert. And
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
what your advice is. Like,
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
research. And
If you feel something in your gut that something is not right, it's better to check it
yeah,
10 times.
yeah.
Not even just once. So they just glance at it and, the ingredients look good, but they didn't go check every ingredient what it means. So is it
Have you
good?
done those extensive
Oh,
Is it gnarly? Is it
someone
horrifying?
once said, if you want to research something, give it to Yunona. She'll research it to death. Usually I go to where no one has
I can
ever
tell
been
you,
before.
you guys, she brought like a whole book of papers and I'm gonna
Yeah,
link all the websites and
I have a lot. Well,
everything.
because I forget the names of it,
I'm sure, and it's a
and
lot of
everyday work.
information
Yeah,
too.
of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was collecting that information, but now it's kind of like most of the people know, and
They are
it's
more
easy.
aware
Plus,
now.
there are so many studies, new studies that are coming out all the time that are showing all of that. But the problem is that deniers are still denying it. So instead of researching more, instead of checking it more,
Yeah.
closely with what's happening. If I doubt something, why don't you check it more? Why don't you research it more instead of just denying that it really happened? Like Dr. Wakefield,
Yeah.
right? He started
Yes.
theorizing. He didn't say this
Wasn't
is the
his
cause of
license
that.
taken away or something?
Yeah,
It was,
in
right?
Britain,
In
first in
there.
Britain. So he started, he's a gastroenterologist. So he started noticing that he's getting more autistic children that are coming who also have gut lining that is not in a good condition.
What is that?
So what is gut lining? The colon inflammation, the children who
Oh.
have colon inflammation. So he started connecting that. If there is that, and more of these, and more of these are coming in this condition, then it means there is connection between that. No one is saying it's causing it yet, you know. But before we say it, why don't you go more into that? And he was calling the medical society of the, Great Britain to pay attention to that, to start researching that. They stripped him of a license, for being a good doctor who is noticing something. If scientists wouldn't notice anything, we wouldn't have Newton law.
Do you feel like that's what's
Because that
happening
was
for you? Are they giving you a hard time?
Well, I'm not in traditional medical community. I don't usually work with them. I don't usually,
Did they
so.
ever give you a hard time for
Oh
these
yeah,
though?
of course,
Because you're
yeah. I
very
was
like well
considered
seasoned.
crazy. I was
Yes.
considered ban cuckoo on the other side.
Really?
the other, I was considered all of that, but now I think, you know what? In Armenia, it was Gardasil that helped a lot to open, people's
Why did
eyes,
they
and
get
we were working
rates
there.
of increased
We
cervical
have a
cancer?
lot of great people over there who were, it was their initiative, and they were going to villages. They were busing specialists to villages to educate our farmers, our villagers, in
Wow.
villages, not even in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 80 something percent refusal rate.
That's wonderful.
That's how much sharing, educating people, is doing. That's how much is effective.
Doctor, I have a question for you, and this is a personal question. You can choose to answer or not. It's at your comfort level. But did you ever feel like because you had extensive research and you knew something was off and you knew that all of these things were wrong and the people were kind of rejecting you for the information you had, did you ever go through like a difficult time?
I know, I would say, when people see you have information that is not um, maybe accessible to them, easy
Mm-hmm.
form, in easy way, or you have a lot of information that would help them, they come for that information. I never felt like the re- the rejecter will be deniers would be
Mm-hmm.
rejecting it. Yeah, I was arguing with Arsen Torosyan, the one who was talking in Armenia about, oh, good, we need to do more vaccination. We'll prepare երեխեքի դագաղները for them, like for the babies, for the.
What?
Yeah, that was like the beginning of when this leader came, and people were, so excited and euphoric. And this guy was talking stuff like that. And I was showing everyone, it can be good because this is what they're saying. So they knew that it's causing more death, more, and they were still doing it. Um, so I remember arguing with him all the time before that. Before
Even
that, we
before
knew,
this.
yeah, wherever I would appear, and people would tag me on Facebook, wherever because I'm Christian, I don't pay attention to someone being offensive, because I know people come from different backgrounds. They
Yeah.
can have
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
very different, circumstances. And I'll tell you another example on that now, so that's why I can keep civil discussion and provide proofs of them. And I always was thinking that the social media is a better audience, instead of me going somewhere. If it's on social media, then that's the audience, people. It's not only for him. Many times I was thinking, why do I waste so much time,
Hmm.
giving him articles and arguing
Trying
with
to
him,
prove a point.
until I, a couple of times I asked myself, and then I thought, it's not only him. It's all the people that will be reading this. They will open their eyes. So it's worth doing it. It's worth,
Hmm.
wasting time. It's not wasting time. It's if it opens one, and later on, as soon as he would see anyone tagging me, he would just leave. He would just run.
Really?
Yeah, he would just, because I'm putting articles. I don't care
It's
what
not even your
you
opinion.
would.
It's just
It's not my,
raised
yeah.
research
No,
and data.
I was asking for his opinion actually. I was posting article and I was asking him, okay, what do you think about this?
This was all vaccine based.
Yeah, it was all
Oh
about
my
vaccines.
God.
Yeah,
And he
and
was for,
it was about vaccines, mammograms. We were like a lot of things, issues there. I was
and you were just
arguing
throwing
with
out research at him.
radiologists. Exactly. My job is that. I want to prove my point. Here is scientific research beside it.
And I
Beside
love
it,
that
if
because
it's
I
not,
think the viewers would really respect that. I think it's important
and
because
like
opinion is not valued
to
here, you
to
know?
be more civilized, what helps me, we had my son was always friendly with all children. He would love to play
Yeah.
with other boys and all of that. Only two times he told me, Mom, I don't want to play with that boy. And I'm like, I was so surprised that he had like that. He would never say anything like that. And I'm like, why? Because he's very and then I found out, one of the boys was parents were divorced, and dad was already with someone else, and mom was, this boyfriend, that boyfriend, so the children were without, practically,
Mm.
they're abandoned by one parent. Now they get abandoned by another one. So they need that love, they need that attention. They need, if one is not performing it to the best of the parental performance, right, the other one needs to cover up that lack of love, not to make it even worse, right? So of course that child couldn't, later on he was fighting at school. He was taken to the
Oh man,
juvenile,
yeah.
all of that. So I'm like,
Hmm.
wow. But the other one that he was saying it, I found out that child was injured by vaccine,
Oh.
and he was always agitated because at home, of course he was damaged. The attitude towards him at home was a little bit different. He was, of course, spoiled. So outside of family, he would expect everyone to do what he
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
that's why when I found out about that, I told him, I said, see, that's why we shouldn't kind of make our impression of people. Each person has a background. They might act in a
That's
way
true.
that we don't like, but if we would be in their condition, we might act even worse.
100%.
Of course there are cases that it's too, but you can be on a distance. So for him, it was the right thing, to distance himself. He didn't want to be
Hmm.
in the middle of fights or anything, but I kind of explained it to him. So same Arsen Torosan
Yeah.
could have different background. It's not my business. It's God's business to judge him. I'm
Correct.
not going to judge him, even if he's offending me. That's why it was easier for me to, I was never getting offended. I'm
I love
scientist,
that.
I'm talking to another scientist. Here is, and plus we need to have to put emotions aside and do it
Yes.
rationally.
I think that that's one of the biggest skills that a human being could take away is to control their emotions, but also in such a serious and such a sensitive topic. These vaccine topics are
Mm.
incredibly sensitive and they're serious because the confusion is real amongst people. But one of the skills I think people can take away is learning. I think that's what you're trying to tell us, that do your research. Get your
Mm-hmm.
research on, educate yourself as much as you can so that you can have these rational and
Mm-hmm.
civilized conversations
Right.
with people.
Learn basic. You
Learn
don't need
basics,
to, you
yeah.
know, just
Read your
open up inserts,
inserts,
check every ingredient. That's
check.
the basic.
Yeah, basic for
Then
the
go to
confusion.
articles. Then you need
Yes.
to, you know.
My
Mm-hmm.
question is, doctor, if anybody needs coaching or if anybody needs guidance, are you accessible?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Okay.
always accessible. I do over the phone all over the world.
Okay.
Practically, we do a lot of tests and everything. Remember, I was away and I came back and I have in my mailbox, I have envelopes with hair. A lot
Hair?
of hair. Yeah. I am opening the envelopes and my son says, Mom, you're like witch of the world. I have all
What
the
did you have hair for?
because we do the
testing.
test, the
That's
hair
right.
mineral test, you know,
Oh my
mineral
good.
and the heavy metals test and all of that. It was all together. They
Oh
came
my
all together
goodness.
while I was away. So
That's
that was
amazing.
like, you know, so one of the
So if
things that are
people want their children's tested or they can
yeah.
just
Oh yeah, we do a lot of tests. I do DNA tests too. That is also very helpful because one of the genes that is connected, and you know, it's MTHFR. We check two genes that are usually the most affected ones, and what we
wow.
find is one of the pathways is blocked, and that's why toxins can't go out. So it's
Wow. So
you know,
it just stays in your body and
one of
causes
two phases in liver could be blocked, you know. So
wow.
that's what opening up. Another thing that I noticed is, you know, they say, oh, for your child to be brain healthy, you need to take folic acid, right?
Yeah,
And
methylfolates.
they were giving folic acid to everyone,
Well, pregnant women.
which was which was not absorbing, and it would block the pathways.
Is it how
So
different is folate from folic
that's how
acid?
they now we
Switch
switched
to
to
folate, right?
folate, and
Methylfolates.
I'm giving methylfolate because it's not easily the absorbable, so
Folic
it's better
acid
to
isn't.
it's folic acid is the one that is helping, but for the body, you know, more absorbable form of it is methylfolate.
I heard that, and I take a really good brand called Thorn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of Thorn, but
Yeah,
they have a
it's
really
good.
good methylfolate.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that it cures, not cures, sorry, but it helps with DNA cells as well. Is that
Um,
correct? It
I
heals it or something, and
So DNA test that we're doing is actually based on that because people are, you know, they're scared for breast, you know, that BRCA test, all of that. So what we're doing is it's done nutritionally, meaning that, you know, we are all born with a set of genes, right?
yes,
Those genes are responsible for 10% of what's going to happen with us. 90% we can change,
yes,
right?
yes,
So why not to concentrate on 90% and not on the 10%? But we also need to know what's in this 10% to know what we need to be careful in 90% that we're doing. With 90% is a lifestyle, is nutrition, all
of
of that,
course.
exercise, all of that connected in there. So the genes that we're, you know, checking are the ones that are actionable, means actionable. It means that those are the ones that were researched the most, and those are the ones that you can change something about it. Not the gene is not going to change, of course,
Right. The
but the
repair, you mean?
epigenetics part
Yeah,
of it is going to change.
that makes more
Epi
sense.
means under gene, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
under gene, if I have, let's say, some people can't absorb vitamin D.
that's right.
And they take
That's
so
right.
much, and vitamin D is very It's not easy. I don't want to say dangerous because vitamin can be, in
Of
general
course,
dangerous,
of
but
course.
any accumulation of that could be dangerous. It causes kidney stones.
Yes,
Okay, if
yes.
it's not absorbed, if it's not so we check DNA and on for vitamin D absorbability, and if it has, if they don't absorb, then they need cofactors to help
Like
absorption of that,
methylation.
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So all of these genes, and imagine it's 28 genes like that are actionable. That's what means
Wow.
actionable. So we need to know what, and they also make formula based on that. So any capsules is like individualized, customized to the body.
Yeah.
It's very good idea, and the geneticists who were working on that were from the original genome project, that got bought out by, Chinese. The COVID thing came
Yes.
out from there.
By the way,
So
speaking of
that's
China, is it true that China they have passed the law to delay vaccinations, or is it Japan?
I have no idea. Japan, yeah,
So
Japan
it's
is
Japan,
very
sorry.
careful about
Yeah, they
vaccine.
have delayed it so you can
They
either do it
had
or not. It's
very
not.
bad results with Gardasil, and that's what
Yes.
opened their eyes, like in
Yeah.
Armenia
I
too.
was reading
Yeah.
that a few days ago. I
The
was like, that's
COVID
fascinating.
would be a lot more popular if Gardasil wasn't before that
Yeah.
became unpopular
This
in Armenia
Gardasil
too. Yeah.
is wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I have article on
Oh yeah, I've
Gardasil.
read so many from Up to Date too. Do you have that
I
Up to
have
Date?
on my blog. Up
It's
to
so
date,
good.
it's been like what 3 years ago I wrote it, maybe more. I don't remember.
It's a
I
pretty good
have, by
data.
the way, the lavash too, on lavash
Really?
and how
Oh,
to make it with the sourdough. And I
you can
make my
make
sourdough bread.
anything from
You
your
can make
starter.
anything,
Gata.
and the way they're growing, the bacteria grows,
Yes.
and you see it happy and full of life, and that's
Do you have a
another
name
like.
for your starter?
No, you
I
have
have.
it.
Mine's
What
the
is
Queen.
the queen?
Because it
Yeah,
feeds the whole family with
right.
so
Yeah,
much
it's like the
goodness.
queen.
Yeah, you have to feed it, take care of it.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, and I mix it with. I don't make it white. I mix it
Yeah.
with rye. Rye
Yeah.
is so tasty, and buckwheat. Buckwheat is
Yes,
one of the best
it
grains
is.
that we should
Yes.
have. The
True.
other thing,
Grechka.
yeah,
Yum, yum, yum.
grechka, yeah.
My daughter's favorite.
Yeah, we
Okay.
spoke about the glyphosate, but then US
Oh
is
my
using a
God.
lot of glyphosate.
Oh,
That's not
today's
good.
world,
So
organic is everything. I mean, I use everything. If you can buy organic, it's essential. I mean, I know a lot of people
not
can't afford it.
organic only is not enough now. It needs to be pasteurized
Oh,
for
yeah.
meat.
Yeah.
It needs to be, the
Yeah.
eggs and chicken needs to be
Non-hormone
also the,
fed and all
yeah.
that stuff.
Plus, the I recently had someone brought me bananas,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, usually they're white and like yellowish,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I looked at them; they were a little bit gray
Yes, have you
in
noticed
color.
that?
And it says Whole Foods,
It's like light yellowish. The
organic
corners are gray.
organic banana.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm like, something is wrong
Wrong.
here. I could feel right away. So I
Mhm.
started researching. I'm telling
Please
you,
tell us. It's okay. Just traumatize us. That's totally okay.
yeah.
Doctor, that's
So it had a label, very weird label with the frog on it.
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't that Bill Gates' new project?
exactly. But I looked at it. I looked at the website. I opened up website, started looking through it. I mean, I feel my gut feeling is telling me something is wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I couldn't find anything on the website because it says rainforest. It looks like, for improvement of the rainforest, something like that. And I'm like, banana is connected to the rainforest, right? A lot of jungles, people just go get banana from jungles and sell
Bill
it.
Gates'
Like in
rainforest is
Peru and
something
all of that.
different.
Yeah. And then a couple of weeks later, we didn't eat any of those bananas. I put it to dry to see what they were not drying well. They got spoiled half the way on the road, to being dry. So already that was, and then I came across something that it's a peel, and one of the peel companies is that rainforest frog thing
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they were from the they looked differently. They
They
looked
do
not
look
healthy.
different. They do
So
look
I
different.
knew it's
Yeah,
not healthy
absolutely.
already.
No. They look
Saying
they're gray.
organic, and that's what
They're gray and like a
Whole
very
foods
light
organic
yellow.
is very questionable.
This is the
You don't
issue with
go.
me. People think that Whole Food is this reputable,
No.
this
And
Trader Joe's. Have
people
need
who didn't get a COVID vaccine,
Mhm.
but they go buy all this produce
Look
and
at
they
the
put
ingredients in the
graphene
back.
in that produce. So they are saying, what we do? I'm like, buy at the farmer's market.
Yes.
It's less expensive.
And you're supporting
It's
someone's
very
dream
exactly.
too.
I have my farmers on my.
Me too.
Someone needed the
You
eggs.
have him
I'm
in your
like,
phone list?
do you want me to call my egg lady?
Is that do you go to the
12
Burbank one?
years. Huh?
You go to the Burbank one?
No, I'm going to the Sherman Oaks.
It's so nice.
It's today.
Is that the Asian lady that sells you the eggs?
I don't buy from Asian
No.
over there. No, I'm sorry. But I checked them. I have Kangen water in my house. I checked produce of everyone over there. They either hate me or love me. Because whoever produce is good. I advertise their produce.
Everyone's gonna want the numbers to this egg lady now. Do you understand? She's gonna be like a famous.
No, not only the egg lady, but the produce over there too. You don't.
Do you mind sharing that information if people want it? You said it. Now you have to.
Yeah, of course. But they can check themselves. The egg yolk is so yellow, it's so orange that they're outside. They're Plus, do a little investigation. It's just once you need to do investigation.
No, egg. You guys, egg needs to be orange, correct? The
Mostly
yolk needs to be orange,
well,
like
not
dark orange.
Every egg is orange. They add, I think, marigold for it to be, But by the nutritious value of the egg, right?
Yeah.
For others, they needed to eat 3, and whoever comes to my house, they eat just 1 or 2, and like, I'm full, I can't eat anymore because they're more nutritious.
Yeah, the protein. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you should ask them, how do you raise them? Show me, where
they have
they
certificates.
Are. So they're going to organic certificate doesn't like. You ask my egg lady, she says, I can't certify the worm that my chicken are eating.
Yeah.
She says, I can't do that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And, but they're growing it, and you should check. You can go to the farm,
you should.
Check how it's worth doing it one time to see if you can trust them.
It's a peace of mind.
Plus, you talk to them, you look into their eyes, you know who is lying, who is not.
Can you catch a liar?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Not all the time, of course.
There's some professional ones, but
some of the again gut feeling.
I think what we took away from today's podcast from you is that you should always do your research.
You should, as much as possible.
The most important thing.
As much as possible, be in a community, because you might do one part of the research. Someone else might do another part of the research. That's how we were, when my son was at school, he was going to Little Armenian school. We were at the play date. We were exchanging information on what movie to show, what movie not to show, or what cartoon is bad for them, or what is, that's why those play dates, that's why the homeschool societies are very important, because they need not only for the children not to be isolated, but also for moms to have that community.
Oh, that's the most beautiful thing you said.
Yeah. The problem in United States, and why unfortunately, I'm looking for that light. Once the society is all broken, and, we're coming to that. Unfortunately, the community are broken here. Europe is going to raise up after it will be completely destroyed. Here, we don't have communities. How are you going to raise up?
Correct.
And in Armenia, it's going to be raised up. In any society, it will be,
and we are the cause of that.
We are
the direct cause of that. There's so many words out. This is a whole different topic, but I agree with you that it is important to be a community. And why I connected with that is because the people watching this are the parents that don't want to vaccinate. But it is up to you guys to create that community, because at the end of the day, the doors are shut in your face. There's no school and there's no doctor some, very rare. But the option that you have is to build a community for yourself. And I have friends that have older kids that they didn't vaccinate their children. They have hired a teacher and they're homeschooling their they
Mhm.
have like a little school for
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful thing. So there's always an
Mhm.
option. I want everybody to take
Exactly.
away.
When you have friends,
Yes.
there's so
Yes.
many. Yeah, my
Search
couple
for
of
a
my
community.
doctors who got killed here. No one knows what they were really working on. The researching, why it happened, why they were killed. But because there is no community with, there is no.
Yes.
I remember when COVID happened, they were showing so many, scary stuff on TV and all of that. I had one friend who was calling me. She was saying, "Please talk to me. I'm so scared.
Oh
I'm so
man.
every time we talk, I get better." So that is very important. That's what they're trying to do when they isolate people, and then we don't know anything about each.
Yes.
One
Absolutely.
one head is good, one brain is good, two are better because we can
To
put and
yes.
we complement each other, right?
Wow. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah.
I
Thank you,
appreciate it. It was
Jen.
a wonderful conversation, and I hope
Thank
to
you.
have you back on again.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
was an honor.
Yes, as I.